Hi, this is my MEUSOC clone. It's finally done. It just needs to be parkerized. I just want to show you the progress on it. If you've seen the previous videos, you'll see me building this up. But if you haven't, this is kind of just an overview of everything, so you don't really need to see those videos. So what is a MEUSOC clone? The MEUSOC clone is basically a pistol that the kind of Special Forces portion of the Marine Corps used. When the M9 was adopted, they didn't want to go to 9mm, they wanted to keep using their 45 ACP, but the 1911s really haven't been built since 1945, so the pistols were getting pretty old, and they were always built with kind of loose tolerances already because they had to be able to be built in many different factories and still fit together. So this is kind of a modernization of the 1911. They put modern parts on it, better sights, better trigger, better hammer, better everything on it. And they built it on the old World War II frames. So this is kind of a clone of what that pistol was supposed to be. Now, I've shown a previous pistol on my on my channel. It was a newer generation or a 4th generation MEUSOC clone. This is a 2nd generation or an earlier MEUSOC clone, and they never had generation 1, 2, 3, 4. What they did was they just kind of evolved the parts that they put on the pistol. They didn't really pay attention to, oh, is this clone correct or not clone correct, because they were just custom building these pistols. So this is indicative of it being kind of a 2nd generation pistol where they use Springfield slides and put these custom sights on it and use some of these parts. Now, the main things that you'll see on a MEUSOC clone that I think really makes a MEUSOC clone is you have these Packmeyer grips, you have this 3-hole trigger, you got a Commander hammer, you got a Springfield slide, and then on all the parts you have them serialized. So these parts were hand fitted, so they wanted to make sure that all the parts stayed with the pistol, so they would put the last 4 digits of the frame on many of the parts, like the barrel, the hammer, the grip safety, the slide, things like that. Okay, so what did I do to kind of finish this pistol? Every part had to be fitted, so you just need to go in with a file and go really slowly. I start with the trigger, I then went with the hammer, and the grip safety took a long time because you have to remove material from the frame. You just want to go really slow. Even if it's your first pistol, it's hard to make a mistake if you just iterate through the process. You file it, you fit. You file it, you fit. You file it and fit. And if you just go really slowly and make sure you're using the right tools and you're being careful, you're gonna get some pretty good results. The only consequence of doing it like that is it's really slow, but if you like doing these sort of things, then, you know, it's fun. Okay, so that was the last video, and since then I've put the grip bushings on, I've put the plunger tube on, and I put the ejector on the frame. Okay, so what do you need to do that? Okay, so the grip bushings first. They can be staked on or they can be Loctited on. It seems like most people like to Loctite it on. 1, you don't need to buy a tool. 2, you can get Loctite almost anywhere. And then 3, when you Loctite it, it's permanent enough that these bushings won't come off when you're putting the screws on or off, but you can eventually remove them. If you stake it on, if you remove it, you can do damage to the frame, you can do damage to the threads, you might ruin your frame. So Loctite seems to be recommended, mostly. Casey Customs, a person that is going to do the parkerization on my pistol, he actually recommended that when I Loctite it on, not to follow the instructions and degrease everything, but to actually make sure that there was some oil from my fingers on my hands, like to put it onto the bushing. And if you touch the threads of it, he told me that when you actually do want to remove it, it's a lot easier to remove with just a little bit of oil, right? But he said that it still retains the properties of having it mostly be Loctited on, where it's not going to come off when you're unscrewing your grip screws. Okay, next is the plunger tube. The plunger tube needs to be staked onto the frame. In order to do that, there's holes in the frame and there's 2 pins that are kind of like rivets on the plunger tube. You put that in the frame, but before you do that, you need to relieve some of the material inside of the frame, and you'd use a ball drill to kind of remove material so the rivets have something to hold onto when it's in the frame. Okay, so I got a Dremel ball drill. You can use a Dremel. I wouldn't really recommend that because the Dremel can kind of bounce around. So what you do is you put the drill into the frame and you kind of slowly twist it. And it takes like 10 minutes of twisting instead of 10 seconds with the Dremel. But you're not gonna mess up, and you know, it was kind of relaxing to do it. So 10 minutes is not too big of a deal, and you can be careful. Being careful is usually pretty good. I'm not producing 1911s to sell, right? I'm making a 1911 for myself, so I can put the patience and the time into it to make sure that it's done right. Okay, so one thing I didn't do right when I went to go stake this plunger tube on, first you wanna make sure that there's a drill pin in there to make sure that the plunger tube doesn't get crushed when you're riveting it on. I put a drill pin in there, I riveted it on, it's stuck on there, but when I put the plungers into the plunger tube, I noticed that the plungers kind of got stuck inside the plunger tubes. So I'm pretty sure I didn't crush it because I had that drill pin in there. I think what there is there was a slight burr inside of the plunger tube. So when it was actually produced, someone left a little nick of metal in there. So what I had to do was get a specific drill size to drill out the small diameter portion of the plunger tube. It was kind of hard to do it from here because you need a really long drill, and even though it's a really, really thin diameter, so they don't make them that long, but I put it in there and it barely just got it. It needed like 5 rotations of the drill, and then it was clear and the plunger tube went in. Now, it would have been much better to have done that when it wasn't in the frame. You could have, so when you do get a plunger tube, just make sure you put the plungers in, make sure everything's fitting in correctly. Okay, last is the ejector. So the ejector goes on the top of the frame. You need to drill into the ejector and then you put a pin in. It might be a solid pin or a roll pin. In this case, I was using a roll pin. So you're gonna put it in. The ejector is made out of very hard material. So you need to make sure you have a strong enough drill bit. And also, it's better to drill from this side. There's a lot more material in the frame to help guide you to the pin in the ejector. And then because you're drilling it on this side, you're gonna wanna clamp the ejector down, but you're also gonna wanna use a left-handed drill. So a drill that drills when it goes counterclockwise. And that's because when it drills in a counterclockwise motion, it will grab onto the pin and it'll make sure that that ejector stays in the frame. So the drill will push it or pull it down instead of push it out. Okay, but if you clamp it enough, it's probably okay. Okay, so once I did that, you do need to file the back of the ejector. It will be kind of sticking out. You'll make sure that it doesn't protrude too much in the frame. Now, I'm not a custom 1911 builder, so is it the most flush that it could be? No, but you know, it's good enough for me, so I'm just gonna keep it that way. It's in the white right now, but it will get parkerized as I send this frame in. Okay, and then you'll also want to file a little bit on the front face of the ejector to tune your ejection pattern. So I took this to the range, I shot it. Look at me, I still have both my hands, didn't explode. The rounds did not really eject at the 3 o'clock position. I couldn't really find the shells or the casings after I shot it. I noticed that they actually got launched like really far behind me, and I think they kind of got launched in the 5 to 6 o'clock position. So I need to tune this ejector a little bit more. I'm thinking about probably taking it to the range and tuning it a little bit before I send it off to Casey Customs to get it parkerized. But other than that, it seems to be working. This build was a lot of fun. I ordered this frame like a year ago, and I think I got it in May or something. And I've just been taking my time. It's a fun little project. A lot of times when you collect guns, you just buy the gun and you stick it in a safe. It's not that fun. So this was kind of a fun cloning process. Like even compared to the AR-15s, you get the parts, you put it together, it's like a day. This took a few months to do, and it doesn't take months. It's just when you have time to do it, you know, sometimes you don't feel like doing it. It can take a few weeks to actually put this thing together. You do need to buy a lot of parts and tools to do it, but once you have the tools, you can do another one. So I'll probably do another one in the future, but for now I'm just gonna enjoy the one that I have built, and I'm pretty happy with the way this one turned out. So thanks for watching. It's 2024. My channel reached about 500 subscribers, I think earlier this month. So thank you for all the subscribers that have subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing if you like military pistols and rifles. We just kind of go through things like build, where to buy things. It's from a collector's sort of perspective. I do shoot these pistols occasionally, but it's not really my main focus. I just like owning it. Yeah, and if you like this channel, please give the video a like, or give my channel a subscription. And let me just also give you a little bit of a preview of what's to come on this channel. So if you like military pistols, you like video games or movies or whatever, you might also like HKs. HKs are also used in the military. This is definitely a military pistol that was used by the Navy SEALs. This is my latest acquirement, a H&K Mark 23. I have many HKs, and I'm gonna dedicate the next few videos to my HK collection. But we'll probably end on this one. This is my most expensive pistol. This was kind of, when I was a student, kind of like a holy grail pistol. I played a lot of Metal Gear Solid and things like that. But now that I have a real job, it's nice to actually have some money. And when you have money, you can buy things that you want. And this is what I bought. An older, this is a KI, so a 1998 pistol, I believe, with the maritime shiny mirror finish. This one, it's not in perfect pristine condition, but it's pretty nice, and I paid a pretty penny for it. So we'll go through things like this, and thanks for staying to the end. You get this little preview on this. But if you have any questions on building your own clone like this, please, please, please leave a comment. I am more than happy to share what I've learned over the past year and help you build your own clone. Okay, thank you for watching. Take care.